Every father dreams one day of getting to tell their kids about their favorite athletes, their favorite sports teams, and the UFC is no different. I know Lucas is a father himself, so he's a lot closer than I am, but eventually I'm going to want to tell my kids about those fighters that may not stand the test of time. We're not talking about the Pereiras and the Toporias and the McGregors and the Joneses. We're talking about some of those fighters who may not stand the test of time like those guys.
Yeah, it's like the tier below.
Yeah, some of our favorite fighters that...
They're not making it to the Hall of Fame, probably, but they're making it to our Hall of Fame. The kids are going to know about them. I've already started whispering in my kid's ear, Volk. I'm trying to make that his first word. So let's get into it. We have a list of about 8 to 10 fighters. Also, we should probably clear up something before we start the video. We've gone to posting from every day to every other day for now because UFC Loki in shambles right now.
And we're both busy boys.
It's just it's so dead right now. Like, there's not a lot of new content we can make, and we don't want to just recycle content over and over again. So fewer videos for now, but if it picks up again in the summer, who knows?
And that's not to say that it's strictly like every other day. Like on a day where there's crazy news, we might be posting every day for a period of time, but minimum every other day for now, plus weeks of pay-per-views, you might get more videos. So
all right, let's do it. First fighter, and this one is very relevant to this week specifically, Diego Lopez.
Ooh.
And I told you about this, but this would be like the first time that me and Dylan together have seen someone in the UFC come up from nothing, come off the Contender Series and have his first loss in the UFC and then just go on a crazy win streak and go from 2 years, I think it's like 708 days, where he is a nobody to getting a title shot, his debut to getting a title shot. And that's just like something that will always be remembered. Even if he loses this fight, he's that title run of 2024, having 4 fights, and 2023 having a lot of fights, it's just going to be special, something that's going to stick with me for a long time.
Yeah, he was a guy that I considered for my list, but I thought, you know what, I think that he may, a featherweight champion, they go down in the history books, if he becomes the champ. But if he doesn't, we'll always have that 2-year span of Diego Lopez, of just the incredible rise that he went on.
Yeah.
All right, my first guy. I want to tell my kids about some of my favorite fighters, and this is a fighter who, they are my favorite. I don't know if they'll ever make it to the top, but you best believe those little kids will be learning about Paddy Pimblett one day.
They have that Scouse accent locked and loaded.
If I'm ever bulking them up, you're like, God, I don't want to eat anymore. Eat it for Paddy Pimblett.
Turn a picture of him eating a pizza.
Yeah. Dad, I'm a little bit fat. No, you're not. Paddy Pimblett was fat, and a week later he was skinny.
It is crazy. He's an inspiration to the kids at this point.
Bodybuilders got to look at this Paddy Pimblett cut. They need his nutritionist. Dude.
It's so crazy. And he doesn't have stretch marks. I just don't believe it. I'll gain 10 pounds for a bulk, and I'll have stretch marks when I cut again. I actually don't get it. It's crazy.
Got that Scouse gift.
But yeah, I think for you specifically, your kids are going to go back and watch Dawson's Corner videos, and they're going to learn a lot about Paddy Pimblett.
They're going to be like, Dad, why did Lucas like all the cool fighters? The good ones? You liked weirdos and Asians. Sounds like me in high school.
It is so random. All right, next fighter on my list. And we didn't specify if this was we're telling the kids for a good reason or a bad reason.
No.
So my next fighter is Bryce Mitchell. And now he's an example of what not to do. I won't be telling my kids about his political opinions or to listen to his political opinions.
Kids are like sponges that might soak that stuff up and become flat earthers the next day.
Oh, I might be regretting this decision. But I just think what he's said on the podcast, that's a life-defining moment. You got to listen to the Bryce Mitchell fishing podcast if you're a UFC fan.
But shout out Guru for keeping Bryce Mitchell in check.
Yeah.
He did not let bro go on any weird tangents. He had him on a rod. He was reining him back every time. Oh, no, actually, we're not going to do that.
Dude, if the collab between Guru and Bryce Mitchell happens on a fishing trip, that's going to be so crazy.
My dad was talking about Theo's podcast. He had Adam Derive. Is that the dude from Pitch Perfect? Bumper?
Yeah, I didn't watch that one.
But just how weird their conversation was. And I was like, well, they're two weirdos having a conversation. You got to treat it like they're going to bring a topics that if you're just hanging out with your boys, a random night, you might bring up a random weird ass topic, you know?
True.
So as weird as that was, you just got to let it be.
Theo's just one of the boys.
Exactly.
It is impressive how he can just like take someone's guard down instantly. Like think about Strickland.
Yeah.
Dude is not crying on any other podcast except Theo Von's.
Yeah.
Respect.
It's crazy. All right, my next guy, another one of my favorite fighters who knows what'll happen in this guy's career. You know, who knows if he'll become champion or who knows if he'll just be what could he have been? I'm talking about 19 wins, 18 finishes, Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Oh, brother. I knew you'd come with this one.
Because who knows what's going to happen in this guy's career? What if he never becomes champion? You know, I want to be able to tell him about Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Mm-hmm. The headdress goes crazy.
They'd be like, Dad, why did he only fight like 3 times? He'd be like, well, the guy was always hurt. That's why you eat your veggies. This multivitamin I'm shoving down your throat? That's why. That's why. Creatine at age 6? Yeah.
Technically, there's no downsides to creatine, so.
True that.
Baby formula. Okay, my next fighter is going to be someone similar to Lopez, but it's Renato Moicano. You know, someone who, again, we saw go from pretty much not fighting for like 2 years and then having this massive resurgence at lightweight. Also having probably the funniest Twitter admin, like for their podcast, Show Me the Money. Whoever runs that, like, carries so hard. They get so many interactions from it. It's great marketing. Moicano is genuinely just like a funny dude, and I think he's one of those guys where you could show your kids when they're like getting to like 12, 13, show them a couple clips of Moicano, like some, what's the guy that you like with the hat? With the hat?
Analytics.com. No, Intellect. The
oh wait, like
Alex, no.
Oh, like the business person?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Alex Hormozy.
You show him Moicano, Hormozy, and Goggins. That kid's set up for life.
One of these is not like the other.
And I think it's so interesting right now is like how Moicano, like after he lost to Makhachev, there was like very few like memes and reels about it. But this last week, all I've seen is reels about Moicano.
Really?
Yeah, and you send me all of them. Maybe you just messed up my algorithm. It's all did. Moicano.
This is payback for when you sent me a Brawl Stars meme and my whole feed went to Brawl
Everybody's
Stars.
Just, I want easy money. Makhachev.
He did knock down Makhachev. That will never be forgotten.
That is true. All right, my next guy. A guy who knows how his legacy will hold in the UFC. He is the man with the most knockouts in UFC history, but who knows how much his legacy will last. Derek Lewis.
Great pick.
You know? Like, you maybe got to wait a little longer to show them Derek Lewis. Like, we don't need 6-year-olds seeing Derek Lewis take it off his pants, you know?
My dad showed me.
Next thing you know, they're in elementary school. Excuse me, little buddy, why'd you take off your pants? My balls was hot.
To be honest, though, in 2035, when you have a kid that's in elementary school, that's probably the least weird thing that's going on in
2035, I'm pumping them out within 2 years.
Okay, great.
We're pumping them out. You got to get them done.
Stop saying that. Does your girlfriend know about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah. One in Bellator, one in the PFL.
This is going to be like, it'll be the, can I dox your last name?
Yeah.
The Rose Dynasty versus the Dagestan Dynasty.
Or like, they'll be like, oh, where are we going? You know, spring break. What are you guys doing? Some of our friends are going to Disneyland. Some are going to Mexico. No, I'm bringing all 14 of them to Dagestan. Spring
break, 2-3 weeks Dagestan.
Every year, just Dagestan.
Cinema. All right, my next fighter is actually a group of fighters. I think it has to be said.
The Fighting Nerds?
The Fighting.
I have the Fighting Nerds.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my word! Fire me up.
Honestly, like the best thing that's happening in the UFC is the Fighting Nerds. The fact that they're all undefeated in the UFC.
Now. Who knows when this video comes out? It could age poorly.
No, it'll come out before, but it could.
There's a lot of 314 content to post.
That's true.
We only have 2 videos before.
Damn, that's
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But
it's risky, bro. It's risky. But 18-0 in the UFC right now. You know, you have their leader, Kaio. Honestly, the least hype one is their leader. I feel like he's kind of just like...
He's Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles.
Exactly.
Just so lame.
Well,
no one's favorite Ninja Turtle is Leonardo.
He's just like that chill guy. And then you have Bryce... No, not Bryce Mitchell.
Well,
New fighting nerd. You have Gene Silva, who's on this crazy run right now. Everyone's calling him future champ potential. Carlos Prates, 4 walk-off KOs in his first 4 UFC fights, now getting a shot at previously undefeated Ian Gary. And then Rufy, who landed the best KO this year.
Yeah. Well, can you say with Gene Silva, I would say I'm pretty confident, like, that out of all UFC prospects not ranked, he has the best shot to become champion, especially given the way that featherweight is right now. I think that there's no one in the UFC with as good of a chance of becoming champion as him right now.
Yeah, his like the situation and his skill set I think lines up the best. I just don't know how confident I am in Rufy's takedown defense.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
I think too is you talk about the fighting nerds. If Gene Silva somehow loses to Bryce Mitchell, perfect segue to tell the kids about Bryce Mitchell.
True. Yeah.
You know?
You can be
it all
like,
just links up.
You can build the lore, and then this is like, big turning point.
Exactly.
In the UFC. Bryce Mitchell title run starts now.
Yeah.
Imagine Bryce Mitchell title run.
No,
like the UFC is
doing
not
anything.
Going to happen.
Like he's got to go up one spot in the rankings every fight.
Yeah. Gets the belt. Oh, you have to fight Makhachev now. Sorry, bro.
Makhachev's coming down to featherweight.
There's no way he'd die.
All right, my next guy, Khalil Roundtree. You want to show a kid perseverance, toughness, hard work, and dedication. Show him Khalil Roundtree. This guy used to be a fat blob.
Yeah.
They got ripped.
If your kid is obese, show them Khalil Roundtree and then show him in the Alex Pereira fight and say, this isn't you in 10 years.
Yeah. No one has done what he did to Pereira in those first 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. Not even Ankalaev beating him. And just he's not going to go down in history as one of those known guys.
Yeah.
But Khalil Roundtree, absolute dog.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
This is where your dad had his first stroke, was watching this fight.
This is where the wrinkle came from.
Yeah. Dad, why are you graying already? You're only 25.
Too many prayer losses, son. Man, that rematch is going to be stressful again. I don't know. Maybe it'll be less stressful.
I think it'll be less stressful.
Because it's like, it feels like he's already over the hill a little bit. But all right, my next fighter is going to be Merab.
Ooh, I think Merab, what if he's the bantamweight GOAT?
Okay, yeah, that's true.
But it's also like the same way that you tell your kid about Dominic Cruz right now.
Yeah, so, but what I'm saying is like, even if he does nothing else in the sport, Merab and the Umar fight specifically is what I'll tell my kids about. I don't know why that fight sticks out to me so much. Like, I know it's not technically one of the best fights of all time, but it's actually a fight that I enjoyed, maybe the top 5 since I've started watching UFC with you.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so fun. And you're thinking Umar's piecing him up on the feet for the first 2 rounds, and then the comeback and the aura farming, like so many clips. And I know it's a lot closer fight than what people make it out to be. It wasn't a domination by any means. But that clip, and he stands there. Like when Umar's trying to take him down, it's crazy to me, dude. The Dagestan legacy stopped with Umar. Yeah. Or the Nurmagomedov legacy stopped with Umar.
Well, I think you look at what also helps make a good fight is like mid-fight storylines, like storylines that go throughout the fight. Like Umar was piecing him up, but there goes Merab, doing Merab, just cardioing it up.
Yeah,
takes those last 3.
I think it also helps that when someone has like an undefeated or like an unbeatable aura, shout out one of our future videos, unbeatable auras. It makes it so much more satisfying when they lose, because it just doesn't even seem possible. Like Umar in the build-up was like, "Brother, how this guy gonna beat me?" And it's like, yeah, that's how he's gonna beat you.
Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next guy up for me. Let's talk about, if I'm gonna show my kid a highlight reel, I'm not gonna tell him who this fighter was. I'm not gonna tell him how good they are. Though I'll just show him this highlight reel of backflips and cage kicks and random stuff. And be like, yeah, son, this was Pereira, Michelle Pereira.
To be fair, he probably has one of the best clips package of all time.
You'd think this guy was the GOAT looking at his clips. Yeah. Like, Dad, that's Poetan? No, the other Pereira. What is this Pereira good at? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. He just clip farms and runs out of stamina.
Just tell your kid that like he's the champion and he's beating like number 1 contenders.
Yeah, tell my kids this is the real Pereira.
Yeah. He had 4 championship defenses in 2024 against Anthony Hernandez. No, that's a great pick. If you want to show it, I feel like if you want to get your kids into the UFC, that is a great fighter to show them. and then they'll watch it and be like, Dad, why is this not happening? This is so boring. Okay, my next fighter, something that is very channel specific here. If you watched Dotson's Corner for a couple months, you probably know about this, but the kids have to know about Jan Blachowicz being the first 70-year-old fighter in the UFC. It doesn't get any more impressive.
He looked
than that.
70 in his last fight.
You know who else looked 70? Josh Emmett, brother.
Oh.
He looked like shit.
That fight was just so weird because it wasn't like it was a bad or boring fight.
Yeah.
It was just like so lame.
It wasn't exciting.
It was Lerone, little calf kick, oblique kick, little combo.
Oh, he loves that oblique kick.
Oh, yeah, he was spamming it. And then just Josh Emmett.
Yeah.
And then
He's winding up.
and then just threw him.
Yeah, that was the one good moment of the
Yeah.
fight. Just I think I scored it 48-47. Like it was close, but if you're Lerone Murphy beating a Josh Emmett that looks like that, it's not looking good.
Yeah, once again, just Lerone. We're not sold on him.
Dude, I was in, I don't know if it was a bad mood. I was raging at my computer. Like, I just hate him so much.
I went on the full lore tangent to my father watching that main event
My fault.
about my just hatred for Michael Bisping on commentary.
Oh my goodness, bro. Bisping and Cruz on
Oh,
commentary.
they
on
were
the same
terrible.
night?
They were terrible.
I swear there was like 2 minutes of silence at one point. Like they weren't talking. I was like, I thought my feed was broken.
And my dad's like, you know what? Like it's, and I, like he didn't really get it until I told him the point about how Bisping roots for every single fighter that I'm rooting against, and he was
so
like, okay,
bad.
now it makes sense.
Yeah, dude. Why are you putting Bisping on a main event that has a London fight or like a UK fighter?
Oh.
It just makes no sense. He was saying that Josh Emmett hadn't even won a round by like the third or fourth round because Dominic Cruz was trying to be reasonable. He's like, it could be 2-2, and Bisping's like, well, I'm not gonna say my opinion. Like, bro, shut up. You just need to stop. It's so bad.
And then I started talking about how like my dad even knew about this because when he used to watch UFC back in the day, but like just how it's so common for English fighters to all fight the same way and be like Lerone Murphys and Leon Edwards, where like if they haven't won, they're not pushing the pace. Right. It's very rare where you have a Tom Aspinall where he, he's the aggressor. They just literally fought like stereotypical English fighters, and that's just how they fight in England.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Once they have the win, run around the cage.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Lerone Murphy's footwork looked very clean in that fight, and his oblique kick was good. He had a game plan, and it worked. So you can't take too much away from him, but just his fighting style and his overall personality, like I don't think he's a good personality to have in that top 5 range.
Yeah, speaking of Josh Emmett, I'm going to tell my kids about Josh Emmett.
Why?
Because I remember being a young bloke coming home from watching UFC 296, and that card made me fall in love with the UFC, and just one of the moments was Josh Emmett giving Bryce Mitchell a seizure.
That was that card?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Josh Emmett makes Bryce Mitchell have a seizure.
Wow.
And was just like, I was like, what the heck? Like, am I going to see this every week? Update, you don't see it every week.
Gaethje's probably the closest thing you've seen.
You don't see that every week. But like, I was just so shocked that Bryce Mitchell is just compulsing at the mouth in the middle of the ring.
It's actually starting to come back to me. I think like we were questioning if he died.
Yeah, we were a little bit frightened.
Yeah.
And then like you also have like Josh Emmett, just like the 10-7 rounds with Taporia, the 10-7 rounds that he was on the side of.
Yeah.
He's
had a lot of good fights.
Yeah, and he's old and a bum, but
but he's also ginger, so you can relate to him.
Well, and you also show him his tattoo.
Don't do that.
Probably don't do this.
Yeah. All right, my last fighter. It's got to be Yuri Prohaska.
I was waiting for it.
If you have, like, how do you describe this man to a child? He's autistic. He's a samurai. He has a ponytail. And he's one of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me that Yuri Prohaska is such a good fighter with such a strange style and a look and training methods, and somehow he's risen to the top of the division. He's been a champion, had a Hall of Fame fight for sure. I think if you turn on any Yuri Prohaska fight, you're going to be a fan of the UFC.
Yeah.
If he fights Magomedov Ankalaev, you're going to be a fan of the UFC. Like that, he can make any fighter into a good fight.
Yeah.
I love him.
Just the weirdness, but also just the excitement.
He also has good values.
He truly is a fighter that is for the UFC. He'll take the fights that other fighters aren't going to take.
He wants Carlos Ulberg.
Yeah.
You know?
He wants to fight. He loves to fight. And I think that that's something that you get with Yuri.
And when he defeats Carlos Ulberg, that's going to be another little thing I can tell my kids about.
Yeah,
He fraud checked this bum.
This bomb. All right, my last guy. My kids will tell me, oh, Dad, you know, they're obviously going to be elite level athletes like their father. But
elite level curlers then? This guy does curling.
But they're going to be like, Dad, you know, like, I'm on top of the world right now. I'm the best player on my team. You know, we just won the championship. And I'll be like, son, don't take these big moments for granted. You know, you never know when you'll fall off a cliff. And I'll tell them about a young bloke named Cody Garbrandt, who was on top of the world. The greatest 25 minutes in UFC history. That's not actually the greatest 25 minutes in UFC history because he might have lost 2 rounds. But
but the rounds were great. All right,
he was on top of the world.
Exactly.
Best fighter in the UFC at that moment.
Probably.
And then it all fell away. CTE.
So what you're saying is you're trying to, through Cody Garbrandt, you're trying to teach your kids to be thankful for what they have.
Exactly.
That is a very poetic note to end the video on.
Exactly. So, go down to the comments. Let us know, who are the fighters you're going to tell your kids about? You know, are you going to tell them about the all-time greats or that little fighter you have a little crush on?
Who are you talking about?
It's pretty
Zhang Wei Li?
No, the little guy.
Wang Kong?
No. What's the one that fought Rob Font? G. Matsumoto.
He is your type.
He is. Formerly my type.
Brunette, Asian. That's all you need.
I got a story for you after this video.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We got to go.
On that note, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.